So, and you would think they're smaller entities, we could organise it a bit better, but I think this problem has just caught up on us now, and there is absolutely no easy answer. But we just have to be careful as well that we don't demonise the county player or anything. I think they're still the front door, they're still the shop window, they still bring standards back down. I'd worry as well about clubs getting, I think the J might need a high performance unit or something that maybe manages the amount of workload that people are doing, in terms of training and expectations and drinking bans and juniors. Like there's just an awful lot. The game has got ahead of the organisation, which is a good problem sometimes because, it's brilliant and all, but we're playing catch up now in terms of getting, from an organisation perspective.
Yeah, just on Wayne's point there, I think the GA have taken the first steps by having a committee with the GPA and CPA on it in terms of the board representative. I think, like, we're playing senior tonight, we have 6 senior players available. So sometimes I think the poor mouth is put forward at times as well, not the poor mouth. We have to be careful. When I was De La Salle manager in 2012, we used to take the month of July off. 2 seasons, 2 pre-seasons. I know a lot of club teams are doing that, a lot of club managements are doing that. And I think sometimes it's too easy to put out the maximum. We don't know when we're playing, we're not sure. There's a level of ambiguity there. So we've 6 senior players tonight for no reason other than Westlife, longitude, weddings, so when I hear it saying the fields are empty during the summer, I think what the club player is looking for is certainty and clarity. And if that means your championship is not starting till the middle of July or the end of July, at least your championship is starting then, and you don't have to go back to pre-season until after Patrick's Day, and then it'll flow. I don't think sometimes I think it's and the other argument, I suppose, I don't think there's anyone in our club that trains harder than Kevin Warren. He's our inter-county player, I would say. And I don't think the club players that are in our club train as hard as him. And I have to be completely honest and say that. I have to be completely upfront and say, and that's just a personal experience of working with Kevin. The Ballygunner and Passy situation might be different in that. But I think they're certainly the fellas that are at the forefront in our club in terms of inter-county, they train harder than everybody else. And they set the example, and they come back in and they're humble enough when they come back into the club environment to really drive it on without being overpowering or overburdening. They lead in the right way. In terms of the resources ever filtering their way from the CPA or GPA to the club scene, I think it would nearly go against the whole grain of the club attitude. I think there has to be a certain acceptance that there will always be a gap. And that might be the popular thing to say, but I think that's only just a personal opinion.
It's fair enough.
Sorry, Ger, just to go back to the point again. The point, I suppose, we kind of got into a conversation about fixtures. But the real point I was trying to make was that if I'm managing a club team in the morning, okay, and a club player needs to go to America because he can't, for the summer, because he can't get work, he's depressed off his head, he doesn't know what to do with his life, what are the GA doing to put resources in place for that type of player who approaches a manager? And look, it's just throwing it out and I'm challenging the question.
It's a fair question, but we have an alliance and partnerships across multiple agencies that I get multiple calls like that every single week into the office, and I'm always in a position to try and help that individual. The first protocol is and it seems so obvious, is that individual's local GP. Because that is the person that is best placed in their community to identify what exactly supports that person's need. We could, if we were to try to put in a direct dedicated service the same as the GPA has for 250,000 people, we would stop to be a sporting organisation and become the health service. Instead, what we try to do is raise awareness around how to signpost people to the supports that are available to them in their own community. In a number of cases, that support isn't enough, be it for urgency reasons. We know there's long waiting lists for mental health services or addiction services, and we have been able to utilise both the GPA and some of our direct contacts into the likes of the health services to get club players the help they need within 24 hours, and that there happens very regularly as well. So the answer is that there are a lot of additional support services available for club players that many people wouldn't be aware of. They often exist in their own community. Each county now has a county health and wellbeing committee. Sean Regan here is the chairperson of the Waterford County Health and Wellbeing Committee, and their job is to try to be that link within the county, that if a club manager or coach doesn't know where to turn, they can pick up the phone to Sean or even to me in Croke Park and put a call in, and then we work out what's the next steps in order to get the support that player needs.
All right, I think we might wrap it up there. It's been a wide-ranging and very varied conversation. Unless there's somebody else down there, is there one last question? No? Yeah, okay, just
sorry, to Brian. Switch it on. To Brian, when you came back to Bowes in, I don't know, was it 08, 09? No?
yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah. Did you think England was gone, or were you using Bowes as the platform to get back? Because I know you came and I think you were PFA Player of the Year, you were in Team of the Year 3 years, 2 years in a row, definitely. Anyway, like you obviously showed great resilience to get back on the horse and get back to England, and you're in England now 10 plus years again. I just wondering, did you think coming back to Ireland that my days in England are done, or were you using it as a platform again?
Initially I had no plans to go back to England. I remember sitting in a hotel in Bristol. I'd left Swansea at the time, and because I was frustrated by the lack of game time I was getting. I think I was 23 years old or 24 maybe at the time, and I remember Swansea said, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay or do you want to go? And I said, look, I want to go look for something fresh. I remember I was sitting in a hotel in Bristol, contract agreed, about to be signed the next day. My agent was in the room next to me, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, and it was going through my head, like, did I really want to be in England and kind of not getting a chance to play and not getting a chance to develop and enjoy the game. And I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't enjoy the last 6 months at Swansea, solely because I was going home in the day. You do your training, you go home and you sit in the house with staring at four walls. In the evenings, like, as much as you're friends with your teammates, everyone lives their own life when they go away from it in the evening. And like my family and friends, like, there was no WhatsApp groups, there was no, I don't think there was, I think text messaging was probably was there at the time, but it was rare. Like, everyone was living their own lives. But it was the loneliness as well that I found difficult to deal with at that time. I wasn't enjoying it. But anyway, I made a decision. My agent said, look, I think I'll go home. I think I'll go home and play if there's an opportunity there. I didn't know whether there was an opportunity at the time. And my agent's like, you're walking away from one, money, and two, potentially your career. Like, said, I'm not walking away, I'm going to go a different route. And it was a massive decision for me, because coming home from England, like, people will look at you as if you're a failure and go, he didn't quite cut the grade. And that was always in the back of my mind. And you felt like you were letting people down. But for my own probably mental health at the time, I felt that it was the right choice to do, the right choice to make. And I ended up signing for Bowes. I had 3 or 4 months. Obviously the seasons are different, so I had 3 or 4 months to sit around and wait for the contract to come, but I knew it was coming. Thankfully, like, I got back in, I enjoyed it. I was only an hour and a half up the road. I was home every other weekend. Games are played on Friday nights generally, and you're back amongst your friends and your family, and you're starting to enjoy things again. And it's no coincidence that when I started enjoying the game again, I started to flourish on the pitch, like, and it was just came together nicely. And I had no ambition to go to England. You said I won 2 league titles, a cup, I was PFA Player of the Year and whatever else, and that was all great. But that was down to the work ethic and the good team I was in at the time as well. Like, it was really enjoyable. But then, obviously, the economy was crashing and everything was going wrong there. And there was a couple of clubs that were kind of come to see me play. And then Ipswich came in with Roy Keane as manager. And I was talking to my family and going, how do you say no to Roy? Like, I might never get this opportunity again. Like, and people have an opinion of Roy, whatever way you want to look at him. Like, I've a lot of time for the man. From the chats you'd have him as a player and a coach, or a player and as a manager. And he ultimately swayed me to go back over. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't fully enjoy being back in that environment straight away, because I felt I was going back to 4 walls. And that goes back to the mental health side of things, where you go, like, you're away from your family, you're away from your friends. Now, you have a lot of good things that come out of the game. Like, you have a career, you have you have a wage coming in every week or whatever else, but you're still in that lonely environment as an elite sports person, like, and it's difficult. It was difficult for a while, and then you kind of figure it out, and then I went back anyway, and I broke my ankle, and I was out for 8 months, and that was probably for me the most difficult part of my career, because as you said, like when you're injured, as Jack said, you're away from the team environment, you're doing your own rehab, you have long hours on your own in the gym, and again you're going home to an empty house at times, Roy got the sack in between that, and ultimately I made the decision to move on again. I was quite lucky to sign for the club I did at the time afterwards. But going back to your original question, like it was more for my own sanity in terms of getting the enjoyment back in my own life. At that time, at that period of time, I didn't think I was earning enough money to stay in England, and it was never going to set me up for life. So I thought, like, look, I can probably earn the same at home in Ireland and enjoy what I'm doing, and that's 10 years on, like, and I'm thankful to that decision, like, because it did change probably my own life, and it changed my path in life in terms of where I am now and where I could have ended up, like, because battling away, I think Bristol City were probably League One at the time, battling away in the lower leagues in England is a tough slog. Like, I know your own brother was over in England and made a decision to come back. It's not easy over at times, is it? It's not. You're away from your family and friends, and you have to find a way to come back and enjoy sport and enjoy your life. And I think that decision I made then probably got me to where I am today, and thankfully I'm in a very good place, and a very happy place at the moment, and hopefully that stays that way.
How's your sanity after work? We're going keen to be
Been tested for a while, but Roy is Roy. It was incredible to work under him. Like, he's highly opinionated, which, we had a couple of Irish lads in the dressing room, like, and he actually used to, Damien Delaney, I felt from at times, he used to hate Damo for whatever Damo was a bit flash, and he used to wear the baseball cap backwards and an American football jersey, and they're from across the river each other in Cork, and after a game, like, if Damo made a mistake, Roy would be the first one to go for him, like, and he'd absolutely hammer him, like, he'd destroy him. And he used to go on about Kennedy Cup games like that, going like, oh, if I was playing with Cork now, we'd hammer Waterford. Darren Murphy would have been there at the time as well, and would beat them, and you have no discipline. Like, you're across the border, you're walking around with these big white headphones on you, and you can't head a ball for me. And we're sitting in the dressing room 45 minutes later. Like, I'll finish up one good story about Roy. We played Leicester away. I was playing, and we played unbelievably well in the first half, and we drew the game 1-1. We were awful in the second half. We were hanging on by the skin of our teeth. It was night and day the first and second half, so we're in there anyway in the dressing room, and he has us all sitting in one corner. Like, Roy's chats could go on for 45 minutes after the game, and we're sitting there, and the drug testers are in. So anyone that's been drug tested in sport knows that once the drug tester introduced themselves to you, they have to stay with you, or you have to be in their sight for the whole period of time until you finish giving your sample. And Roy's doing his team talk, and he's going around to a couple of lads, and, like, rightly or wrongly, he's telling one lad from London, he was 19 years old, he'd only played a handful of games. He said, look, I don't think you're going to make it in the game, I just don't see you being consistent enough. He said, you'll probably be back in London next year doing drive-by shootings with your friends. And we're all sitting there, like, holy God, like, you know what I mean? And he's going around to different lads, like, going, one week I look at you, you're controlling the game, and you're controlling the game. Next week, like, I can't find you on the pitch, but it's okay, I don't blame you. I blame your parents for the way they brought you up. So, like, this is all down to, like, this is not, obviously, it depends how the lad takes it, like, but everyone's different. And then the last lad, he went, like, do you want to be a footballer, or don't you want to be a footballer? Or do you want to take piss for a living like that fella? And all you see is the drug tester standing over the corner just going, his head was straight down. Poor fella didn't know what was going on, like, it was incredible. But that was Roy, he was so honest, he was just, like, he'd never scream and shout at you, rarely scream and shout at you, he was always talking to you, and that always made it a bit more personal, because you can handle someone, like, having a go at you and having a proper shouting match at you, but when it's calculated and when it's straight to your face and it's talking like I am talking now, it's much harder to take, but overall, like, I enjoy working with Roy.
Right, one more shout out for Keating Construction for all their support for making it possible today, and of course for the venue as well. I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, it's down to the quality contributions from our panel this afternoon. I think you probably have to be very proud of the club that organises this and is able to draw a panel of such varied experiences who are so giving of their time and their stories and their honesty as well. And also there must be something in the water here, because obviously the sporting calibre in the general area is pretty high. So give yourselves a round of applause, and the panel as well, please. Thanks very much.
Well,